want to say hi to all the people that love Star Trek, and you are a Trekkie. You love Star Trek. You've been to the convention in Gene Roddenberry, and we want to take a look at war and how to avoid war. We have to learn to get along because we all have to live together on this planet. Live long and prosper, the Spock said. I am your tour guide. I am here to reminisce about Star Trek, the original Star Trek in the next generation, and even talk about the voyage, John Sisko, and the great people that you see behind me. Star Trek was a television show that shocked everyone when it came on television. First aired September the 8th, 1960. Actually, I wasn't even born, and the great people that assembled, Gene Roddenberry, which was the creator of Star Trek. He was in the Air Force before that. He wrote a great script. It's actually like cowboys in space. You got the opportunity to go to new frontiers where no man has ever went before. And people that have never seen these faces, I'm going to tell you, what you see behind me is the USS Enterprise, which is a powerful vessel. And who knows, it may have influenced the United States' Space Force, and I think it did. And in front of me, in the blue, is this Captain Kirk. Beam me up, Scotty, as he used to say. And there's Mr. Spock, who always said, that is not logical. But he had a human mother, and his father was a Vulcan. And Bones, the doctor, they always tried to make him do things, and he hated going inside of an energizer. He said, "Oh, you're materializing my body." He said, I'm not a killer. I'm a doctor. It's Scotty, the Scottish man, and you know what? A lot of people know that the Scottish are great engineers. They know this. They know this. And Star Trek influenced a whole lot of people, And I happen to be one of them. And behind him is Sulu. They once did a show where there was a balance of power when he had to fight Captain Kirk when he beamed over to the transporter had a problem. They had to beam him over, and he had to fight him. Trying to take control. You're like, oh, okay. And then we cannot forget Lieutenant Uhura, which people just don't know. She kissed Captain Kirk, and that was the first interracial. That was the first interracial kiss that took place on television. She was the communication specialist. And I forgot about Sulu. He was with navigation. And Chekhov was from Russia during that time. He had a Russian background, and I was so inspired by Star Trek. Perhaps there was a particular character that you loved on Star Trek. We will talk about Captain P. I can remember sitting with my father, sitting down, and you know what? Star Trek. And it was like a ritual. We would sit down, and you know what? These words that we The starship is on a mission to go across the galaxy and find things. And they found wonderful, wonderful things. I love Star Trek. Star Trek was beautiful. Like I said, again, the first time it aired, it just fascinated so many people. And the franchise of Star Trek is just expand. I'd like to know something. I look at some of these YouTube videos, and I always wonder how do y'all happen to get footage of Star Trek? They CBN don't have any problems with YouTube. I'm gonna figure that out one day, but it may be somebody that may be able to tell me. But the Star Trek franchise has made millions, millions. I said again, the first show came on September the 8th, 1966, and it was like a cowboy thing. It was, man. And Jim Tiberius Kirk was not the original captain of Star Trek. I gotta tell you, to do a little research on it, was Pike, Captain Pike. You know, when you first start a series, sometimes you want to make changes. You want to make changes. And Captain Pike, and what happened is it was just his head. I don't know what happened to him. Captain Pike. One day I'm gonna get pictures of Captain Pike, and they took him back. Spock went back to the planet against the will of Starfleet Command. He somehow had the coordinates on the USS Enterprise to go back to Pike. These incidents where Pike got disformed, and it was like a machine that was carrying him around, and he had the ability to go back. And like I said, he almost faced court martial, and you know what? It was very, very, very interesting. I'm talking about the first one. But do you remember Star Trek? Did you and your father watch it? Did you and your sister, your aunt, your uncle share some of those memories with me? Okay, and what I see is that the first TV show, first television station that Star Trek aired on was NBC. Okay, and back during that time, there were only 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 TV stations that were nationwide. Okay, you had NBC, you had CBS, and I think we had WGN, and I'm guessing, and NBC. And the thing is, it captured the imaginations of millions of people watching this show, because back during the Kennedy era, hey, we had a space race to try to beat the Russians to the moon. That was our okay. And I was overpowered, and a lot of people just may not know. The original series was a set of franchise record. Okay, and they had advertisers that were out of this world. What was Gene Roddenberry thinking about? What was he thinking about when he assembled this cast? Because usually, when you have a cast of people with different nationalities, back during that time, it just wasn't feasible. It wasn't. But Gene Roddenberry proposed a science fiction named Star Trek that would be everlasting. It was like, me and my father used to look at cowboy pictures too. When people look at cowboy pictures, it was like the old West. But the thing is, they weren't in a wagon train going across, hitting these different galaxies and these different planets and visiting what's that? Planets and seeing different things like a wagon. But the thing is, it was like being in space, and you got the opportunity to see a different species of life, different ways of life. But they had a prime directive that when you went to these different planets, you could not interrupt their way of life. You could not do that. But if you did, because if you interrupted their way of life, it could cause a disruption in the time continue. Somebody asked me, man, why do you want to do a show on Star Trek? You know what? I want to do a show on Star Trek because you know what? On Facebook, I said this. I belong to some groups on Facebook that are associated with Star Trek. It's just so fascinating about it, and I visit so many YouTubers that are fascinated about Star Trek. Have you ever been to a convention, a Star Trek convention? You know what? I think have you been there? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you genuinely have a good time? Did you get the opportunity to meet Captain Picard, William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, Michelle Nichols? Okay, did you get the opportunity? And if you did get the opportunity to meet these people, what were they like? What were they like when you met them? You know, Captain Janeway, I would like to meet her because I can say I appreciate things. And Cisco, I would like to appreciate. But I would say out of all of the characters that I liked on Star Trek, the original holds out for me. And the thing is, I probably before his demise, before he died, I would have liked to met Leonard Nimoy. You know what Leonard Nimoy, for a lot of people that don't know, he also played in I Spy. It was a television show called I Spy, and I'm not going to say I Spy. I think it was not I Spy, it was Mission Impossible. Okay, I'm getting that confused with another show, but he used to play in that, and I used to love that show. But I would like to meet these people, and I would like to ask people. There are people that go to these conventions, these Star Trek conventions. I mean, it's just overwhelming. It's just so many people. There's so many people. And the thing is, I always wondered, man, these uniforms, how much do these uniforms cost? How much? How much do they cost? How much does it even cost to get into these stuff? I'm a Trekkie. A Trekkie, what is a Trekkie? Trekkie is someone that loves Star Trek. And you know what? I gotta tell you something. Everybody out there that's listening to Star Trek, I've seen each and every one of them. But you ever look at something and you say, damn, I wanna see that again. And it's like I've looked at it over and over and over and over. You've got something that you looked at over and over and over and over and over again. And there were episodes that stuck out in my mind. And I think there was a Star Trek that was named The Balance of Power. And man, that was so interesting to me, the balance of power. What is the balance of power? What happened is that the Romulans, not the Klingons, the Romulans in USS Federation, they had no contact with each other for years and years and years, but they had a treaty.
Patrolling outposts guarding the neutral zone between planets Romulus and Remus and the rest of the galaxy received emergency call from Outpost 4. The USS Enterprise is moving to investigate and assist.
They had a treaty that no one could cross the neutral zone. Okay, but what happened is the Romulans, they crossed the neutral zone. Okay, I'd like to show you an example. Okay, they crossed the neutral zone. Here's my ship.
Mr. Spock is looking at his instruments and sees that the outpost has been destroyed. And he's trying to find out who did it.
Okay, and what happened is they destroyed an outpost on the Federation side, which
The Romulans have attacked the outpost. They've crossed the neutral zone. Actually, this is the first time that a Federation ship has seen a Romulan ship. They've never seen each other before.
they signed something that said that we will not do that. And what happened is Captain Kirk in a USS Enterprise ship and the crew had to make a decision.
The neutral zone, established by treaty after the Earth-Romulan conflict of over a century ago. And only the Romulans know what they think of Earth. The treaty, set by subspace radio, established this neutral zone.
You know what? And the decisions that they made would impact the whole galaxy system. Interesting. So what happened is Captain Kirk, you know what, he had to make a decision.
My responsibility. We are proceeding into the neutral zone.
He had to make a decision over whether he was going to pursue or go after the Romulans and go over into their territory with the neutral zone that they had established, or just let them go. And you know what? It was like, you know what? It was a hard decision. And you know what? Captain Kirk, he assembled his crew, and they got together. And you know what? They sat down and they made a conscientious decision.
And if the Romulans are an offshoot of my Vulcan blood, and I think this likely, then attack becomes even more imperative.
War is never imperative, Mr. Spock.
It is for them, Doctor. Vulcan, like Earth, had its aggressive, colonizing period. Savage, even by Earth standards. And if the Romulans retain this martial philosophy, then weakness is something we dare not show.
Okay? And what happened is Mr. Spock said, his right hand man, he said one thing is, if we let the Romulans go back to the neutral zone, back to their territory, okay, what information about how they destroyed a outpost of the USS Federation, it could cause further conflict. Okay, and people don't stop it. Spock is the second one that's behind the individual that has the gold on. The gold individual that has the gold on is Captain Kirk. That's Captain Kirk. And what happened is he had to make a conscientious decision. But the man behind the guy with the pointy ears said, no, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to start? He told Captain Kirk, what are you trying to do? You're trying to start a whole nuclear galactic war over one outpost. Sort of reminds me of what's going on with Russia and what's going on with the United States of America. It sort of reminds me. So what happened is Captain Kirk, the first guy that's in the gold right here, he had to make a decision. And he said, you know what? As Mr. Spock, the second guy, said, if you let them go, it will cause further aggression. That is what he said. He said that. And you know what? I get it. You know what? In other words, it's like a bullet. It's like a bully that just pushes you around. And the thing is, you let that bully get away with it. You let the bully get away with it. Okay? He gets away with it. The bully gets away with it. Okay? And you know what? You said, man, I ain't gonna do nothing to the bully. I'm gonna leave that alone. But what it does is it makes that bully cockier, stronger, and then he goes on, or she goes on and does more. And that was the decision that was made. So, it was called the balance of power. And you know what? I enjoyed the balance of power. I love it. Because what happened is Captain Kirk, he had to cross the neutral zone to pursue the Romulan ship, the bird of prey. That was the name of the ships of the Romulan. It was called, their battle cruiser was the bird of prey. He had to make a decision. And so what happens is, it was a cat and mouse situation. It was like a battle. And you know, and he caught Captain Kirk off guard by playing like he was dead. And he said, I won't make that same mistake again. Okay. And the thing is, what Spock was saying makes sense. The thing is, if we would have let them go back to Romulus, which is their home, where their home base is, after they destroyed a USS Federation outpost, it will cause further aggression. That is what he said. And the thing is, interesting. And then what happened is Captain Kirk caught him by surprise. And killed the ship. And you know what? One day, once I learned how to get some of any information about that, let me know. But getting back to the balance of power, Captain Kirk, the Romulan captain told Captain Kirk something at the very end. The Romulan commander was only following orders. He was, as he said, he was a creature of habit, and he had to follow orders. But he told Captain Kirk,
the Romulan bird of prey has been hit and the captain's Centurion has been killed. And the captain knows they have them. So, this is the end, almost. The Romulan bird of prey has been hit and the captain's Centurion has been killed. And the captain knows they have them. So, this is the end, almost. The Romulan bird of prey has been hit and the captain's Centurion has been killed. And the captain knows they have them. So, this is the end, almost.
something that stunned me. He said, we're creatures of duty. He said, if I would have met you another time, we could have been friends because we're something like this. We're something like the same. We're both conquerors. And Captain Kirk said, he said, I'm going to self-destruct the bird of prey. I'm going to self-destruct because he wanted to self-destruct. I destroyed because he didn't want it to be a possibility of the Romulan vessel, a bird of prey, being captured, and intelligence, information, and technology is taken out of it. And he said, Captain Kirk asked him, what good will it do you doing this strong killing yourself? What good? Hey, I got somebody in there. Star Trek. Oh, I love Star Trek too. Star Trek. Yes, it's the best. Star Trek is the best. Hey, but what happened is so the balance of power, he told him at the very end, he said, well, must self-destruct. And I think these are things that are going on, you know what, globally. You have to make decisions on whether you're going to fight now or fight later. And you know what? Captain Kirk made the decision to fight now. Although Spock tried to talk him out of it. And Bones, which was the doctor, tried to talk him out of it. But being a captain, he had to make sure. And you know what? Another thing I think is an episode that I love on Star Trek.
This is what your grandfather was doing. Any message for your grandchildren? Great.
Because I happen to have known someone who was in the NSA.
Okay.
All right? And they don't know what they'll know now. I've been in their building with him. Did you see it?
Yes, sir.
And they
Some people don't know what NSA is.
the National Security Administration. And when I walked up in there and seen them, it's like they were my whole life.
Wow.
They got video screens. I mean, from here to 35th Street.
Those street cameras, right?
Those are the screens like you watch on a computer.
Right.
All right. They got a room where they listen to conversations all around the country. All right. That's why I can say what I say. But they let me go because he was an important person, and they figured if he was pregnant, it was all right. All right. They made a mistake, but I never forgot that.
Well, wait a minute, all the while.